Hello and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 469. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
I am Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. I had to think about that for a second.
It's been a week.
Yeah, it's been more than a week even. But, so we're late recording this week.
We are. We had some tornadoes in the area and some other things.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit chaotic, but overall a good week.
Everybody's okay.
Yeah. There was some severe damage out in the Lewisburg and Olive Branch areas.
There was damage, but no fatalities. So, stuff is just stuff.
Yep, that is true. Lewisburg High School, their outside cameras at their school caught the tornado.
Oh, wow.
Because I was at the school board meeting for stuff, and they were doing the damage report, which is really interesting, like having to deal with insurance and stuff at that size level. But like all the ball fields got messed up at Lewisburg High School, but they weren't in like the direct path.
Yeah. Well,
anyway. Yeah,
we all got woken up Saturday morning at like 5 a.m. because Laura and I, we both have weather radios. Yes.
So, if you ever live someplace where there is severe weather, I highly recommend a weather radio.
Yeah. So, of course, at my house, my husband, Mr. Sometimes Awesome, shoved us being myself and my son, into the room under the stairs.
Did the dogs and cats come with you too?
The dogs did. The cats, we're not going to try to chase them down.
I feel like that's a good plan.
But he, of course, wasn't in the room at all.
Oh, where did he go?
Well, outside. You can't see the tornado from inside, Laura.
That is true. It was much closer to you than it was
It
me.
was. It was like a mile from my house. But then at your house...
it was just purling off.
And there was some feelings of betrayal from the dog.
Oh, yeah. She does not. So, my interior room in my house is the guest bath. So you want a room that has no exterior windows and that is in the inside of the house.
Ideally a basement, but because of the silt level where we are close to the Mississippi River, basements are very, very, very expensive. So most houses here don't have them.
And so Pearl hates that room. Like, she does not like going into it. So I ended up having to get her into her harness.
To drag her
to drag her into the room. And then I gave her like a giant bone to keep her busy and calm, and she just looked at it, then looked at me. But she doesn't like weather noise anyways. I typically give her anytime there's a storm, I have some calming treats that I give her that I think Josie Bug recommended to me. And they work awesome, but there was no time. I need to keep some of them in like a plastic bag underneath that sink. I keep like emergency like lanterns and candles with matches, and I think there's some distilled water underneath there just because my steamer also lives underneath there, and that's what goes in there. But yeah, I should put some dog treats, some calming treats in there as well. But yeah, we were good. The sirens outside were going off for quite a bit, but Hernando got hit pretty hard, and then Lewisburg area. Hernando's just south of us. Lewisburg is to the east of us, just like a mile east of Leslie's house. And then Olive Branch, their elementary school, lost the roof on the tornado shelter, actually. But because they're built with like cinder blocks on the roof, it would still have protected the kids. But yeah, and thank you so much to all the first responders in the area who dealt with all the problems that come with that, and making sure people are safe and helping people.
And power lines down and all that.
They worked a lot, and it was a weekend, so it was.
And it's early for tornado season. Usually we don't tend to get tornadoes until it warms up
spring, but it's been weird weather. It was 75 that day, I think, here. Yeah. And now it's like we got an extreme temperature drop down to like 50. Yeah. So
even colder than that at some point today when I went outside with the dogs.
But. Yeah, I'm trying to get this sweater done because it's supposed to be like high of 32 on Monday. Dr. King's holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to, because then I could actually wear it.
In your house.
In my house. Where it's 58 degrees.
Yeah.
It was actually really cold in my house. It dropped down. My like minimum temperature at night is 58 degrees. Like that's the lowest it can go. And so I had like at night that's what the heat set to. And so like I had to get up and get a heated blanket because I was cold. And Pearl was not a snuggle puppy last night. She was like, "Whatever, lady. I'm gonna go sleep in the closet. See you later."
This is not actually a lifestyle podcast, but today it is. I sleep most nights under a weighted blanket that I made last year, the year before. And it's funny because when it's been really cold in the house, those plastic pellets actually capture the cold. And so when you lay under it,
it's like extra cold.
Yeah, so I have to like layer blankets on top of it. It's not so bad in the summer, like it's not overly hot or anything. But those pellets do capture the cold.
Huh. That's interesting.
All
right, so you're crocheting. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to talk about my knitting
doesn't make any difference whatsoever to me.
I'm just going round and round.
I'm just going back and forth.
Okay, I'll go first. Because I have a couple more things, I think, than you do. So I am knitting on the Atlin sweater. This is a new cast-on. I cast it on last Saturday or Friday night.
And she's displeased with how far she's gotten.
Well, I would like it to be further along than what it is.
So she wants to be able to knit a sweater in a week. It's basically what she's saying.
So this is the front here. It's a little bit lower in the front. Well, it's a bulky sweater.
That doesn't mean you should be able to knit it in a week.
Well, I don't want to... Yeah, I mean, I like to get it done while it's still cold. We'll see. So I am knitting this on... well, first the construction. So you start with 2 rectangles up here at the shoulders. And then you put one side on holders and disconnect the yarn from the other side. I have tons of ends to weave in because of this. And then you pick up along this edge and then pick up on the opposite side, cast on a bunch of stitches for the back of the neck, do basically the same on the other side, and then work back and forth for a little bit, and then eventually cast on a bunch of stitches for the front neck. And then start basically what's a raglan increase almost, where it's a line of increases that go out. I did modify this in a lot of ways, actually. I modified the gauge because I thought I was getting gauge. I gauge swatch in the round. I'll show you. See if I packed my little gauge swatch. I did. So this is after it's been washed. And because the sweater's in the round, I cast on double the number of stitches to knit in the round. But the sweater calls for 15 stitches equals 4 inches in stockinette. On the larger size needles, I'm using size 8 as my larger size needles. And I'm actually getting 16. So I cast on the numbers for the 52 size. I went up to the largest size with the increases, but I know this measurement on me is 9 inches from like this line to like my underarm. And so I got to 8.5 inches, and I still had to increase, I think 4 more times. I put all these notes on my Ravelry page. So I did every row, I started increasing versus every other row. And then I tried it on, and I liked the way that worked once I got past the underarms. Divided for the underarms. And it's basically stockinette with a garter panel that goes down the side. And it does have a line of increases to make it almost more A-line that also occur. So these stitch markers right here, I've done 3 increase with 14 rounds in between. And every increase round increases the size of the sweater by 1 inch.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's 4. Yeah. I mean, it's 4 stitches. It's 4 points of increase. So it's 4 stitches per inch. So I have to knit around 14 more rounds, then another repeat. The pattern calls for it to be 14 inches from the underarm down to the bottom. I'm a good solid 19 inches there. So I'll be adding some, and then it's got some short rows that happen back and forth for a scooped back hem that will also happen. So I am at like 9 inches from under the underarm. So I have around another 10 to go. Well, a little bit less than that until I start the short rows. And then this will have, if I have enough yarn, full sleeves. I'm hoping that I can get the whole rest of the body out of my second skein. So while I have a lot of ends to weave in at the top, Cascade Eco Wool is like 470 yards. So I won't have a ton of other ends to weave in as I go. And that's hanging in my out in my Unicorn Amy Beth bag. So, and it's just chilling at home. I've been knitting on it as I watch hockey games because the Penguins have had several games this week. The needles that I'm using for these are new to me needles, so I brought them. They are Jimmy Bean's sticks. Smart sticks in the wood. They come in a Delaque case. I think we paid $165 for them.
Yeah, I've got the metal version of these needles, and this case is a lot nicer than the case mine came in.
Yeah, and they go from 4s up to 11s. And what's neat about these is I'm really enjoying working with them, and they haven't untwisted with me yet. Like, usually needles untwist interchangeables. At the tip of the base of the needle, not the tip, there's the sizing in both US and millimeters, but each of these lines is an inch. So they have it so that every line is an inch, and then the cords are also marked. Let me pull out a cord. And every dot, if you can see those gold dots on there, denotes another inch. So you can use them for measuring as well as knitting. So I'm enjoying those so far. I'm also using them on my second project. Put these away real fast. Yeah, I think Jimmy Beans bought Delaque, which explains the niceness of this case.
Just makes me sad. I would have liked a really nice case. I did not get a very nice case.
But yours were also like $40 cheaper, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they're like $130 for those ones. Alright. Other things on my needles. I know because they sent me the wrong needles. Remember, they sent me the metals by mistake and not the wooden ones.
But they charged you for the wooden ones.
Yes.
Yeah, so then how would you know the difference in price?
No, they charged me for the wooden ones. The metal ones came with a price tag on them.
Oh.
So I had to send those. They made it right. They sent me the new ones and with a shipping tag to send the old ones back. Not the old ones, the ones that I didn't order. So I have the start of a baby vertebrae. I have 4 pregnant coworkers.
I feel like you always have
4 pregnant coworkers.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a number of them.
So, a lot of teachers try to time to have babies like right before the summer so that they get that extended time. At least in my school, that's how it works. So like the ideal time is to go out on maternity leave like the first week in May and then, or like mid-April.
Yeah.
So I'm knitting a baby vertebrae. This is some Unknown Superwash wool.
This looks like Jill Draper almost.
I'm thinking it's one of the grab bags of Madtosh, but I'm not certain. Can't tell you for real. Years ago, Webb's had like specials where you could buy grab bags of like Madtosh vintage for less money. So at that time I bought a couple. So I think this is from there, but it was wound and who knows. I think it's more yellow than like more goldy.
It's gold, yeah. It's
than the Jill Draper is. So this is a baby vertebrae, It is a paid-for pattern, although there is a newborn vertebrae that you can use for free that's a little bit different when it comes to yarn. The baby one you can use like worsted, DK, or fingering. She's got all the sizes for all three of those. I think the newborn and like up to maybe a 3-year-old size. But the free version only has like one yarn in the newborn size. So anyway, that's going along. That's just kind of hanging out. I cast it on and it's ready for the arm sleeve divide, but then I started this and I got distracted. And that is also in those Jimmy Bean needles, and it's living in another Amy Beth bag. This was the SSK 2017 bag. And then last but not least, all my stuff's in Amy Beth bags this week. This is my Amy Beth Christmas bag.
This was not sponsored by A Fat Squirrel Speaks.
Ooh, I only have this much yarn left. That could become problematic. We'll see. I have some Knit Spin Farm socks. The heel turn is done. And they are just ready for around where I'm at here, I think. Oh, my heel turn took... Oh, no, I'm right there. So I
was
have
gonna
like...
laugh if you'd made these different widths like you have before.
Oh, I don't think so. I can count.
I mean, the stripes look the same to me, so.
Yeah. So.
For those of you wondering if I ever got those socks reknit, no, I did not.
So I have like 3 inches of stockinette and then 2 inches of ribbing to do. I don't know that that's gonna happen.
Luckily for you.
You have some yarn
I also
too.
have that colorway.
I know, that's awesome. I was thinking actually the other day when I was knitting these that I should maybe do her extra heels and toes, like she does an extra mini skein.
Oh.
Because my feet are so large. But, I don't know. I'll have to see. So yeah, these are almost done. Just the cuff and leg of this one to go. But it's got a heel turn and all that jazz. So yeah, and that's a superwash Target. It's nice and bouncy. And it's from Knit Spin Farm. It's sport. And the Wear Something Gaudy Day. And I'm knitting that on Addy Turbo Rocket Squared. Size 1. 2.25. I believe. So yeah, and that's just like my live in my purse knitting. So when I'm waiting around for like coffee in the morning, if I stop by Starbucks or whatever, if there's a line at the drive-thru, I'll get like a couple stitches knit and stuff like that. When I went to a book signing, that's when I got the majority of those knit this week.
Oh yeah, that's also part of why
we
we didn't record earlier this week, because Laura actually went out and did stuff.
I did.
Like a social person.
Yeah, I totally did. We can talk about that later with the book stuff. But yeah, I think that's it for me. 3 things. I feel good about those 3 things, though.
You should, because I only have one thing.
But you finished something large.
So what I'm working on is a ridiculous cat sofa.
So ridiculous.
So I first want to say I'm so glad that I'm not the only ridiculous person. We talked about this last week, and there are quite a number of you guys.
There's a hashtag on Instagram, not that you're on social media.
For joining me in knitting this cat sofa. So the link for this thing is in our show notes, which are always found at TheKnitGirlls with 3Ls.com.
Leslie would love it if you would join in with her. If you have a cat or not, you can totally join in.
So this is what it looks like. It looks like a sofa with a tiny little granny square afghan. This is the entire pattern. It is a single back and forth page.
There you go.
And you use foam to fill in, to like, you know, give it structure.
Like pillow foam?
Like craft foam.
Okay.
Like that comes in those green rolls at Joann's or whatever. So it actually calls for an inch thick foam, but I couldn't find any of that at my Joann's. It was like a 1/2 inch or 2 inches. Those were my options. So I went with a 1/2 inch because I could just double up.
Oh, yeah, you can just put 2 pieces in.
So the first thing that you make is this like bottom base part, which is just a huge rectangle basically. And then everything sort of builds up off of that. But you're supposed to have the foam that you put inside of that rectangle that you basically wrap the crochet around is 12 inches deep, like from front to back, 18.5 inches wide. That's 1.5 feet wide.
I mean, cat's gotta lay down.
And 4 inches thick.
I thought you said it was an
4
inch.
inches thick.
Oh.
You're supposed to have several pieces.
Okay.
4 inches thick. So the base of this thing is 4 inches thick. And that's without the cushions that go on top.
So you could have gotten 2-inch foam and just layered 2 of those.
Well, but then I'd have to cut it, like for the cushions themselves, only use an inch thick layer. So, anyway.
And you spent like $40 on all your materials?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to Joann's or Michael's, no, Joann's, and I got some very fancy Karen Simply Soft.
There's nothing wrong with some Karen Simply Soft.
In the tweeds. So it's acrylic, 100% acrylic.
But that's the perfect use for that.
Right, because I want it to be washable, because, you know, cats like to vomit places.
My cat likes to do other things places.
Well, so, and this is the last of this skein, so I brought something else to work on, but I didn't realize I was this close to it, the end of it, but...
Did you buy more than one?
Oh, yeah.
They're just downstairs.
They're just downstairs. So, this has you knit 2 different panels. Crochet, yeah, 2 different panels, and then 2 for the sides, and then join them all together. I'm not doing that.
Because why would we follow this pattern?
No, because why wouldn't you just attach them?
Oh, I see what you did.
And then wrap it around and seam it.
Okay.
I don't understand why you wouldn't do that, but so I'm shockingly not getting gauge. Apparently, I crochet tightly in the same way that I knit tightly, so I should have gone up in needle size, but I did not. So I'm basically just crocheting more.
Could you switch that though with the cushions since they're separate?
Maybe. I don't know. But it's also not going to be quite wide enough. It's going to be like 3/4 of an inch total shy. So I'm just going to trim the foam to be, you know, whatever size I need it to be to work with this, because I'm not being graded on this.
On your kitten couch?
On my kitten couch. So these are the 2 separate panels that will wrap around the base. This is what the yarn looks like. It's just a simple, like, cream
I like it.
tweed.
I think it's cute.
So now I have to pick the colors of the Afghan. You need 3 colors. And then you use the white as like an edging. Sorry, Buffy's scratching on my door. I don't know why.
She loves me.
So
you
yeah.
could do like an orange as one of your colors.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
Because it looks very nice held up against your sweater.
But, yeah, so this is basically all I've worked on in the past week. With the exception of my sweater. But probably the other thing that so I'm using Karen Simply Soft
tweeds.
And I'm using the hook that the pattern calls for, which is a USI or a 5.5 millimeter. And then there's a smaller needle that you use for like this little ruffle thing at the bottom.
I love the fact that it's got a little ruffle.
Of course it does. It's so fancy. You don't touch my little sofa ruffle down here. Yeah, it's very, very fancy. Only the best for my jerk cats.
Are you just gonna make one? Or are you gonna make more? If they like love it, would you make another
one?
If
they loved it, I would make another one. But I am not holding.
Are you gonna
breath.
replace Fred's basket with the kitten couch, like where that's located?
I'm actually going to see if Michael will make room on his desk because the cats hang out with Michael all day upstairs because they love him the best.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna see if he'll make room for it, because right now the cats just shove aside whatever is there.
Yeah.
And lay out. So we'll see. So that's mostly what I've been working on.
I feel like the cats are totally going to ignore your kitten couch.
They absolutely will.
Neelix will love it.
No.
Leslie's dog.
Yeah, he'd be too big for it. If they hate it, then I'll donate it to a shelter or something. Like, it'll get used by somebody. But the other thing I'm going to cast on here in a minute
Excuse me.
is some Knit Spin Farm sport weight. We knit a lot with her stuff, and A, it's because she's a good human being.
We like her lots.
And B, we both really love the sport weight yarn. It's really nice and bouncy.
Yep.
And we're both part of her club. It's
Little
a monthly
Moon Holidays club.
And this one is Collect Rocks Day.
Her husband Bill is actually, she posted on Instagram today, he's cranking people's stashes for like another, you pay him to crank tubes for you. He's doing that for like the next month. And you can actually get her sock yarn pre-cranked as well.
Right, yeah, if you're a member of the club, you can pay an extra, I don't know, $10 or something. And Bill, her husband, will crank them into tubes for you. So you just have to put in heels and toes and a cuff. So
it's a fun way of doing a club. And she does other weights besides the sport weight.
This is just the one that we prefer.
Yeah.
It's rare that we agree on things. So
I mean, gotta make it count.
So
Joanna is one of those.
Yeah, that's true. So I have 2 finished objects actually. This finest hat. So Laura and I found this knitting machine that's it's like an Addie king size.
Can I back up for a second?
Mm-hmm.
So Yarn Hoarder Amber has been doing charity knitting on her Addie king size machine, and that's totally where I got this from. And her goal for the year is to do a hat a day to donate to charity.
It's insane, yeah.
So, well, she said the whole thing takes her around 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So she can crank out a hat in 30 minutes, and then she's taking pictures of them on Instagram. It's super inspiring.
No, I mean, it's admirable. I'm not giving her crap about it, but it can be a lot to put even 30 minutes aside of it.
Yeah, Leslie and I were thinking that was an awesome idea, and we wanted to do something similar. So, we looked at that. We have a smaller Addie that we got.
Yeah, that's like a 20-something needle.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
we
for
really
baby
got
hats.
it for the tasting room at SSK, but also to do. So I wanted it to try to do some baby knitting because people at my school like to have babies, and sometimes I don't get a lot of advance notice as to, babies come when babies come. They don't like schedules a whole lot. So you can let her in
I'm
if
going
you
to
want.
in a minute.
So anyway, we were thinking about getting the Addie king size, but it is a substantial investment. How much are they? $200?
They're $200, yeah, or more depending on where you get them from.
If you live in Europe, they're actually a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, because that's where Skacel is. But we found this other, I don't know, knockoff or this other brand called Centro. And we found it on Amazon, and I think we got it for like $60 or $70. It was much less expensive, and it's actually bigger than the king size, but only by like a couple of stitches. So it came with some yarn, and I'll link it in the show notes. It came with some yarn, and the yarn label was great because it just said knitting accessories.
Aww.
Like that was it.
That's all you get.
So I decided I would try to just knit a hat.
And that's a folded brim hat?
So this is the first one that I made. The only one I've actually made. And it's a folded brim, but I do with the socks on the sock machine. I captured the brim, so I folded it back up on itself, and then as I was cranking the pink on, I was closing the blue. So so I just did a gathered top, and Kobe wore this to school for a couple days. It's the hottest look.
Look, if you go, but that's like a nice slouchy hat.
Yeah. I did learn a lesson about how to join the bottom to the top, and like I started at the wrong end, and so I didn't have a lot of wiggle room once I got towards the end. Once I do this a couple more times, I'll be able to explain it better. So that's one thing that I finished. I didn't follow a pattern.
And there's YouTube if you're interested in getting either this machine or the Addie machine to do some hat knitting. There are
lots of video tutorials.
Lots and lots of video tutorials. And the Addie king size, you can actually do panels flat as well.
You can do that on this one too.
Okay, cool.
I bought some very inexpensive yarn to try it out.
And there's some really cool sweaters.
Yeah.
Specifically by one designer.
Jimenez. I forget her first name, but her last name is Jimenez. And one of them is called the Matterhorn sweater. And that's like the very basic, simple pullover. It's in my queue. So, the other thing that I finished, and then I'm going to let my dog in because she's having a heart attack or something, is the Miranda.
Which is gorgeous. So, you got to stand and do a
I
dance.
will. Well, I won't do a dance, but I will stand. So, this is the Miranda. It's by Josie Paquin. It has the option for a hood. I did not do that. It has the option for long sleeves. I did not do that. I did modify the sleeve a little in that it just has a rolled sleeve. But I did a few decreases and then did some ribbing because I wanted it to end around my elbow. And so that I actually knit too far the first time and had to rip back like 3 inches. And I have almost a whole skein left over.
Oh, wow.
And then...
It's really pretty. And that's Leading Men Fiber Arts here?
Yes, this is Leading Men Fiber Arts in the Spiced Apple Cider. Another option it has is the pocket, like a kangaroo pocket. And I did that, but I am going to go back and line this with some fabric, some non-stretch fabric, like a woven fabric, because I find that this will droop after a while.
Yeah, if you put your phone or something else
I want
heavy.
it to not stretch quite as much. And then it has the bottom where the ribbing goes into the pattern. It all...
It flows together nicely.
Yeah, comes out really nice. So, yeah, Leading Men Fiber Arts. I did the second to largest size, I think. I gotta let my dog in.
It's out of their boxed office base.
The non-superwash.
And the...
What is wrong
That's the
with
superwash. Box office is superwash, friend.
Oh, okay. I thought it was non-superwash.
Hi! I missed you. Come on up. Come on.
You have stuff in her way.
I know. Oh, who's my new co-host? Who's my new co-host? It's Buffy.
Okay, can you sit? Can you scoot your tush? Thank you. So, yeah, this is my very skittish dog, Buffy, who only likes Laura. She likes me, but she basically only likes Laura.
We're buddies. Huh. Are we buddies?
She's not usually so codependent, so there must be noise. Michael might be cooking.
Oh.
The oven, she has decided, always... So, when we were cooking for Thanksgiving, something burned in the oven, and so it set off the fire alarm, or the smoke alarm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so now, every time she hears the oven, she's like, oh my god, bad things are happening.
Oh.
Yes.
But your daddy makes you food in the oven.
No, he makes her food in the
Instapot. Oh, he's so silly.
Thank you. So yeah, that's basically what I've been working on. I don't have any spinning, but Laura does.
I do. I have a smidge. I've been mostly working on this, but I did spin the singles for my hip strings advents.
Number 5 through 8?
Yes.
Because there are 12 altogether.
Well, I jumped around because I did the tonal mini skein option.
Okay, yeah.
So they are ready to be applied. Lots of silk content. These ones are silvery blues and greens and just really pretty. So this is a total of 2 ounces. So those will be applied together, and then I have 2 more ounces to go and apply together, and then I will be done with that. I'm not certain that they're going to be the same weight as the first 2 ounces that I did, but I'm plan on using these probably for baby hats, so I'm not super worried if they're not matching up, because I'm not putting them together.
But they have silk content, so will they be superwash?
No, there won't be superwash. But how often do you wash baby hats? Like newborn size hats, do they get a lot of washing? I don't know.
I mean, that was 15, 16 years ago. I don't remember that. But
I feel like if I just put on there, bring to me if you need to wash.
Or if you give them to people to just know that, just know that, they need some extra care.
Especially if I give them to knitters or whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't be superwash, but it'll be okay.
Are you happy?
So yeah, that's it for spinning. I'm still planning on doing Jillian Marino's sample along spin, which is linked on her blog. I just haven't gotten there yet, and she's in like the second week of it. So I will get there. I'm going to start that after I finish this. And that's going to be a 4-ounce spin for me, but it's going to be divided into 1 ounce different ways of spinning stuff. So I'm excited to see how different ways of spinning affect the same colorway. I think that'll be fun.
I've taken a Maggie Casey class like that.
Yeah, and this was spun on my Lendrum upright. And that's it for me for spinning. It's been a very late spinning month.
Yeah.
Just in general. Usually I spin around a pound a month, and I haven't gotten there yet. I need to fix my shock reefs, too.
Oh, yeah, we
Next
need to
time
put a
you're
dry
over,
band on it. We keep
just
saying
put a
that,
dry
and then we keep
band.
forgetting.
Yep. So I need to get that done because I'm going to do a fleece spin. I have a
those came.
pound and a half. Oh, did the fleeces come? That's exciting. We also got some new fleeces, so once we start processing those, we'll tell you a little bit about them. One of which is going to be used for my kids. I do that Fiber Arts February thing where we go through how clothes are made, what makes up your clothes, the composition wise.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to hear that you were going to use them because they're really fine cormo. Like, they're really nice.
No, just the baby one with the baby tips. I'm not using yours. That's why you got your
Well,
own.
no, but it was a nice...
Yeah, it's a nice fleece. It was a $60 fleece.
Yeah,
but all they do is put their hands in it. It's not like
that's
they're
true. I just...
messing with stuff. I needed a fleece. So...
And we know you don't have any.
Well, all mine are
washed.
All mine are washed right now.
That's
because
true. Well, although hers are jacketed, aren't they?
They are, but the ones that I've used in the past from Peeper Hollow have been jacketed as well. They've been CVMs. So this is a different type of fleece. This is a Cormo. Usually I use CVMs, which are also a pretty fine fleece. But I like using fine fleeces too because I feel like sometimes people who are not fiber arts people think of wool as like super scratchy.
Right.
And this allows them to see that
Right. If you have a really nice fleece and it's been jacketed too, it's more appealing.
Yeah.
A jacketed fleece means that the sheep basically wore a jacket over its fleece.
Little coats.
To keep from getting like hay and dirt and stuff like that.
And there's pros and cons to them. If they are done right, they can be very nice for fleeces and still keep the animals healthy, but they have to be switched at regular intervals in order for that to happen. So, yeah. Hi. Oh, thank you. Yes, you're so sweet. So reading. Do you want to go with what you're reading? Do you want me to go? Okay. So I read 3 middle grade books this week. I feel like that is a record for me lately. And they are, let me pull them out. 2 of which were ARCs. ARCs stand for Advanced Reader Copy. And one is not. One was one that I went to a book signing for. So, last Thursday, I went to a book signing at Novel for Nick Stone. Nick Stone is the author of Clean Getaway. She also wrote an amazing book called Dear Martin, which is YA. Clean Getaway is a middle grade novel. And she was there for like 2.5 hours speaking about her book, which was really, really awesome. She's just the nicest person. She's the type of person where you go to an author signing and she like lifts up the people that surround her. Some authors can be kind of condescending or not the kindest, but she made sure that everyone had their time with her, and she answered things in a very kind but interesting way, where you didn't feel like there were dumb questions being asked. So in Clean Getaway, it is about a boy who goes on an unplanned road trip with his grandmother, and it's kind of like her last road trip. Like, this is a road trip that she started with his grandfather years and years ago, and it was unfinished. And they have an RV, and he does not tell his father that he's gone. He's gotten into trouble at school, and so when grandma shows up, he takes off with her. It turns out that grandmother is white, and his grandfather was not. And they had started this road trip using the Green Book.
Oh, yeah.
And, which is his Jima's most treasured possession, but it was unfinished. So they use the Green Book again and go to all these places that have history, and she's talking to him about the history. They go to Birmingham, to the site of the church bombing, and go and visit the church. They go to Jackson, Mississippi. They go through Louisiana and through Texas.
She's just like...
And along the way, grandmother Jima has a secret that she's been keeping, and she's acting very odd. And so it is their journey together. It is an epic road trip novel with like a crazy Jima. So it's really, really fun. But it also addresses things like they go into a restaurant together in Alabama and get lots and lots of looks.
I'm sure, yeah.
So it discusses how things have not changed in some places. And things are still the same. So really, really good. Really quick read. I think it's around 200 pages total. I read it in one afternoon. 225 pages. And it has pictures. So I originally was going to listen to the audiobook, but once I picked up the copy of the book, there are illustrations.
Are they by the author or by someone else? Just curious. Not that it makes any
I don't
difference.
think they're by the author. I bet you it tells me in the front, though. They are not by the author.
Just
They are by
curious.
Dawud, and then Anybwile. And I would totally mispronounce that, so I'm not going to give it an effort this time. But they're gorgeous, and they're throughout the book, so it's got that almost Diary of a Wimpy Kid vibe. Also, the maps are really cool. Let me find one of the maps. Yeah. The little maps have, like, facts on them. And they're a replica of the map that she's using, because she's got all these old maps. So yeah, really, really fun. I think if you're looking for something else for a kid who's super into, like, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but you want to give them something that has more serious topics discussed in it, but also has that illustration and appeal that way, this would be a good choice.
Just a different voice. Like, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a very, I don't want to say common voice, but it's, you know, it's a voice that a lot of us have heard before, where this may not be.
Yeah, absolutely. I also find, like, this is my own personal bias, because I've read the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. I found the main character in Diary of a Wimpy Kid to not be the kindest.
I've never read
Like, he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
So, and he's very self-centered. I mean, he's a teenage boy.
Right.
So, they've got that quite correct. The second book that I read is a young adult book. It is called Every Reason We Shouldn't. And it is about a 15-year-old figure skater named Olivia who's kind of raising herself, and there's a love interest. Her parents own a skating rink. They were Olympic skaters, figure skaters.
So there's pressure, I'm sure.
Yeah, they were a Paris team, and her father actually dropped her mother. And has caused some really bad medical issues with her mother, and they're in danger of losing their ice rink. So they allow this boy, named Jonah, who wants to go to the Olympics for speed skating, to come in and train as like a last minute way of raising money. I like some of the side characters in this a lot. I felt like it ended, I mean, it's a YA romance, but I felt like it ended too neat. Like, there's a school shooting scene in part of it, but it turns out, like, they go on lockdown and they're fearing for their lives, and then, like, the next day it turns out it was, like, just an angry parent who didn't really have a weapon, and all this drama was kind of for nothing. And but there was no, like, follow-up with that and that trauma, and it just felt like it was tied together a little bit too neat for my taste. I'm doing this project with my kids called the Margin Project. It's not my idea, it's someone else's idea. If you Google Margin Projects, it'll come up, and what happens is you write your name. They all have special stickers that say Margin Project, and you write your name in the front of the book, and then as you read it, you take notes. So you annotate text just like you would.
It's funny because she sent me, there's a cat in here with a funny name.
That's in this one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But she sent a picture where she had she had underlined the cat's name, and I'm like, oh my god, she wrote in a book.
So this one you're supposed to write in, and it makes reading social.
Yeah.
So as I'm reading, I'm underlining stuff, I'm writing questions, and I'm making this a social, and then I will put it, and they're going to have a special shelf, and then a kid can borrow them. They don't have to check them out. They can just grab one, and they can write their name, and they can do the same. I expect a lot of these to be lost. I'm going into this knowing this, but these were advanced reader copies that I got for free.
Yeah.
And rather have them sit someplace. So advanced reader copies are not necessarily the final copy. Like, there's going to be difference in text. There's going to be difference in covers. This one's the same.
Done.
Yeah, there's some edits done, and so on. So this is a young adult contemporary romance. If you are super into ice skating, or you know someone who is super into ice skating and wants a little romance, there's this one. It's 365 pages, so it's a decent read. The nice thing about ARCs is they also tell you all the specifics on the back, so I don't have to be like, how many pages is this? Yeah, so it was a cute way of me starting this. And then I did another one. And this one is middle grade. And this is not the final cover. The final cover, and this one came out 12/19. The Every Reason We Shouldn't actually doesn't come out until March. This takes place in the town of Boring, Bohring. It's middle grade. And it's about this town where there's like 453 people, a lot of alligators, like over 2,000 alligators, and a monster curse. And Kik is the main character, and she's kind of been sent to this swamp town to live with her grandmother, who is a fake psychic. And she's a scientist, and all she wants to do is science, just like her mom and her dad do. But they've kind of sent her away. And she goes to this town where there's this legend or a curse where the kids become monsters every 100 years. And strange things are starting to happen. So she has to use, like, science, but also her own self to try to figure out what's happening. Mm-hmm. And she's got a cousin. All the cousins and grandmothers and everyone's name is after a state except for her. So she's different that way. But every chapter starts with a prediction. So this one says, you're going to fail. How you react to that failure is up to you. And they have, like, some really good quotes in here that I like taking away, like, about being yourself and knowing that, like, this one is, as long as knowledge can be used for power, people will seek it out and use it for their own purposes. So... this one was good because it's never too late to be the person you want to be. I hope you grow up to live a life you're proud of. And if you're not, I hope you both will have the courage to change it. I thought that was super cool. So there's lots of cute quotes in here. It's a nice middle grade mystery, with fake psychics and science. And I enjoyed it immensely. And an alligator. Do you want to see my terrible alligator? Because I was also trying to model, like, drawing in these books, so I drew a terrible alligator.
I mean, I can tell that it's supposed to be an alligator. I'm not sure what's happening in the tail region, but...
I don't know.
It looks like it became the other side of the Flintstones, like, dinosaur. Yes.
I like this quote, too. Science isn't evil when it gets up in the morning, but sometimes explosions happen. The name of the cat was... it's a pun.
I can look it up.
It's not Catapetra.
You
it's
sent it to the Glee team, right?
Yeah, it's instead of Cleopatra, Catapetra, but I don't think that was it.
Katsanova.
Katsanova. I thought that was an amazing name for a feral male cat. Anyway, it's a cute book. I enjoyed it, and this one is out. It was published by Disney, so I enjoyed that one immensely. I actually finished that today. So those are my three. So 2 middle grade, 1 YA. And I started reading Forgotten Girl, but I'm literally like 4 pages in. So that one is a horror. It's like 2 kids go out to play in the snow, and they stumble across a graveyard, a segregated graveyard in the snow, and are haunted by a ghost who wants history to be made right. So that sounded interesting, too. So lots of reading this week. But what have you been reading? I've been talking a long time.
Not so long. Sorry if I keep going out of frame.
Buffy is right here.
She's comfortable, and I'm just
She's gone to sleep. Hey,
I'm
Buff.
not really willing to move her at the moment. Because when she's stressed out, like, she can shed, like, sometimes if she's shaking, like, you can see the fur, like, coming off of her. So I'd rather her be comfortable, honestly. So what have I been reading? So one of our viewers recommended Demons and DNA to me, which is a paranormal fantasy with a romantic element to it. I got about 50% into it, and it makes so many references to other things that have happened before in prior books. And even at the beginning of the book, it says, you know, this is the recommended reading order. And the book that I was reading was like 16th on the list. It was a new series, but it built off of previous series. So I got about 50% through, and I like it, but there's so much that I feel like I'm missing. Yeah. Because I don't, you know, have that context. So I went back to the first, which was a series I had actually read. Well, I'd read part of it. The first one is called Cupcakes, Trinkets, and Other Magic. Oh, yeah. So I remember that series. It's called the Dowser series. So I went back and restarted it. Because I liked it and I already own it because I've read it before, at least the first few.
Yeah, these are not on Kindle Unlimited.
The first one is, but the rest of them are not, which happens that way a lot. So I just restarted that, and then, and I am re-listening to the Rhaenyra Chronicles, which is a sort of an epic fantasy. And it's by Michael J. Sullivan. It's narrated by Tim Gerard Reynolds, who's one of my very favorite narrators. It's a prequel to another series that Michael J. Sullivan has written, and the fourth one in the series just came out in December, I think. And Kobe wanted it because he's listened to these series too, and so I went back and re-listened to everything, and I'm only on the third book now, which I think is Death of Dulgoth. That's the one that I'm on right now. Yeah. Thank you. Aww. Thank you. So
poor Buff too. I know. It's hard being you.
It is. I wonder what stressed her out. Yesterday it was the storm. It was storming. No, that was Wednesday night. Because I didn't go to
Wednesday,
midnight.
yeah, we had a huge storm that came through. It was raining last night, though, I feel like, when I got home from the basketball game.
It might have been, but I know Wednesday night it was, like, storming.
Mm-hmm. I had to give Pearl her treats, her calming treats, and she just laid down by Madeline's feet.
Thank you. What else? So, what we're wearing, I don't think you're wearing any knitwear today. I've already talked about mine. Mine is Miranda. I really, really liked working with this yarn, and this color is brighter than it looks on the screen, and I really like it a lot. So
it's really pretty.
What else? We have Clothing Conservation Month coming up in April and May. I think I'm going to use that time to darn. I've got a couple pairs of socks that need to be darned.
I have socks that still have ends to be woven in, so I'm going to finish those up and then wash stuff and make sure like the sweaters that Gwen finished for me, the ends are still on the inside. So I need to make sure everything's neat and tidy with those. Yeah. And it'll be a good time to put sweaters, like, give them their last wash for the season. And put them away. Although, for Laura and I, our sweaters never really get put away because we take them to SSK. Yeah. And that's dead in the middle of the summer, so. We do wash them before we take them, though.
Yes, and usually after as well. Because they've had tons of people trying them on, but let's see, what else? Stash Dash. All these dates are in our show notes. Again, the show notes are at TheKnitGirlls.com. We've got to figure out a fail-along for this month for our Patreon supporters. So if you have an idea, the fail-along is for every single one of our Patreon supporters, regardless of the amount that you support us at, which we sincerely appreciate all of our Patreon people. And if you have a suggestion for what you'd like to see us try and fail, or maybe do well at, we'd love to hear it, either in the YouTube comments or on Ravelry, where we have our episode thread.
I know, Amy Florence started doing, what was it, not rug hooking?
Needle punch.
Needle punch, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, my concern with needle punch is just the camera angles of how you'd be able to see us when we try it.
Yeah.
Because it's like embroidery, you sort of have to hold the... Anyway, give us some options.
Yeah.
Laura doesn't really enjoy things that involve cooking.
No, that is true.
So, just to keep that in mind. What else? Laura works in a public school library.
I do, in
has
Mississippi.
Amazon wish list. If you are looking to add some books to a local library.
Clean Getaway is actually on that list. I don't have any copies in my library yet. So I bought that one for me and got it signed. I'm actually going to give it to a kid that I have in mind for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't have any copies of that in the library yet. So that's on there. As well as lots of other stuff, always.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. My kids are so funny right now. I'm having them fill out. They always have the option of filling out, like, book lists that they want to, like, books they want me to get. But for some reason this year, they are super crazy about manga. So they've been filling out a ton. So I've been trying to get those. And it's hard to find those in hardcover on Amazon, but there were a couple that I put on there as well. But, yeah, I think they are going to... wants all of the Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. They told me today I'm mispronouncing Naruto. It's something else. So I need to look up how to pronounce it
People
correctly.
are screaming it at you right now.
Probably.
Yeah, I know nothing about
Manga's
manga.
not my
You read it backwards, right? Like the books, don't you read them?
The books are backwards, yeah. Well, backwards from
conventional
how people in the U.S. read. Yeah. So I get some. I try to read a lot of graphic novels. That was one thing that it's funny, but like one of them wants Roots by Alex Haley. She's super into that, so I need to add that to there. There's a couple interesting things. It's always interesting to see what they want.
Am I encroaching on your space? Okay, well, I'm going to see what's bugging the dog. We hope you guys have a lovely weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Say bye, Buffy. Say
bye. She is like, I am not on board for this. What is happening right now?
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.